Hi everyone. Yeah, I decided to post it. Alright, so let's wrap this up. We are doing the top 16 worst movies, worst films of 2021. Just a quick recap of where we are at the list so far. Dishonorable mention, Cool Cat Fights Coronavirus. Number 16, Don't Breathe 2. Number 15, Show Me the Father. Number 14, The Unholy. Number 13, Separation. I want to separate from this movie. Number 12, True to the Game 3. Hilariously Awful. Number 11, Spirit Untamed, the most forgettable film of the year. Alright, now, let's jump right into it. Let's waste no more time, because these are where we get in the real shit. So this is the shit stopper, everybody. Okay, number 10 is a film that has some good scenes in it, but to call it old-fashioned would be being generous, and it's the kind of movie that my score dropped probably the most considerably of any film this year. And that film is, at number 10, is 12 Mighty Orphans, or as I like to call it, 12 Mighty Orphans 1, 2, 3, horsing around. Look, Luke Wilson deserves better than this, Robert Duvall deserves better than this, everyone deserves better than this. This film is misogynistic. It is hilariously outdated. Why did Sony Classics release this? They also released what I think is maybe the best film of the year, which we'll talk about later. But the only memorable thing about it is Wayne Knight chewing up the scenery as the worst person who meant to oversee the children since Trunchbull from Matilda. This movie's really bad, and it's just getting worse the more I think about it. Number 10 is 12 Mighty Orphans. 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's number 10. Number 9. A movie that screams missed opportunity and off-putting in every way. Number 9 is Breaking News. My number 9 is Breaking News in Yuba County. A movie made by a director that I like, Tate Taylor, with a cast that pretty much is a who's who of great actors. You got people like Allison Janney in there, Regina Hall, Mila Kunis, Awkwafina. But every single character in this movie, it's one of those kind of really dark comedies, almost in a Coen Brothers style. It's almost Fargo-ish. It actually does poorly what a movie that has been equally maligned that I actually liked, that was written by the Coen Brothers, Suburbicon almost kind of did. But Suburbicon I thought did it better. I think that movie's really underrated. But it's one of those movies where it's about seemingly good people who go to the dark side, but the thing is that even for a caustic, acidic, dark comedy, timing is everything in comedy, and it just feels so off. And I mentioned this in my midterm report, because this is earlier in the year, kind of one of the first movies I reviewed on this channel. It kind of, because it's so awkward, and because even people like that I just mentioned can't save it, it makes certain scenes of violence that in a better dark comedy would actually be kind of wince-inducing and genuinely kind of funny in a twisted sort of way, kind of come off as mean. Because it's not really at the expense of characters who have done really awful shit. It's like, pathetic characters getting like their skull drilled open, and it's just kind of like, you just feel kind of like, why though? I mean, it feels completely unnecessary. Number 9 is Breaking News in Yuba County. Don't even bother. Number 8 is the most recent film on this list. I saw it last week, and that film is a film that I think my opening line in my Letterboxd review is, does anyone really care? My number 8 is Rumble. How do you make a movie with the killer concept of kaiju wrestlers be boring? Like, genuinely be uninteresting, unfunny, and boring. There's maybe 2 smirks in this entire movie. This year has been a surprisingly great year for family films. There are a lot of them on my best of list. In a streaming space where Mitchells vs. the Machines exists, Rumble does deserve to shine the shoes of that film. What a piece of shit. Number 8 is Rumble. Number 7 is the worst kind of movie. It's an obnoxious, smug, pretentious, would-be Tarantino action comedy that thinks it's so smart when it's really so stupid. My number 7 is the terrible And long in development hell that was, and it felt like hell watching it, die in a gunfight. Not a terrible title, not a terrible concept, but it's so self-congratulatory. None of the actors are particularly good, but Justin Chatwin, can we please just bar this guy from film sets forever? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but this guy can't act. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but the lines in this movie not only are stupid and unnecessarily kind of juvenile, they make no damn sense. Like, there's, like, why are you, I'm gonna call you Pinocchio. I was like, oh yeah, why is that? Because you're so nosy. Oh my god. That's an actual line in this movie, and they say it with complete conviction. Also, I mentioned this, I don't think I mentioned this in my video review, but I did in my Letterboxd review. Now that I think about it too in hindsight, this movie's based on Romeo and Juliet. They were 15, 16-year-old kids, so it was understandable they were under the thumb of their parents. These people are my age, maybe even a little older. What is their excuse? Really, what is their excuse? If they want to run away, they can. There's nothing stopping them. This movie was bad. Number 7 is Die in a Gunfight. My number 6 is the worst installment in a series that I mostly enjoy, even some of the installments that most people hate, and it's a sequel that has nothing really to do with its other predecessors. And it's one of the... I guess it actually is the worst horror film of the year because it's ranked the highest. My number 6, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. It is saying something that when a documentary about a film series that is used basically as a 90-minute promotional tool for your movie is better than your actual movie. This, and more interesting, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. Okay, even if it's a standalone that just has the brand name of Paranormal Activity, does it work as a standalone? No. It feels like a really cheap... It feels almost like... Imagine if The Vitch were directed by the directors of Apollo 18. That is essentially this movie. Imagine how bad that would possibly be. And I don't mean that it's a slight against The Vitch. Vitch is a great film. I'm talking about Apollo 18, which is a bad film. Look. Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. I've seen scarier Amish... The dicks on Letterkenny are scarier than any of the Amish people in this pseudo-horror film. And what's most scary about the dicks is their constant penis puns. Look, this movie is terrible. I just can't... My girlfriend is going into a deep hole that's possibly created by a demonic entity. And she's screaming and possibly injured. What should I do? I should go save her, but first let me run and get this camera, dumbass. Paranormal Activity 2. Or, not 2. Paranormal Activity 2 is the best one. Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. Just, number 7. Just, no pun intended, it's time to give up the ghost. Like, really, let's give it up. Okay, the top 5 movies are the 5 movies this year I gave a 0 stars to. Which means they're pretty much all on equal footing, although number 1 is far and away the worst. Number 5. Gotta go through these somewhat quick. Is a bad movie that's actually also really a sad bad movie because it's made by a studio that is always good and should know better. Number 5 is Earwig and the Witch. What a terrible waste of 80 minutes of my life. It's about nothing. The characters are obnoxious, especially the lead. The animation, and I never thought I'd say about Studio Ghibli, is shitty. It is bad animation. And I love Studio Ghibli. Just, no. Casey Musgrave couldn't save this movie. That's all you need. Number 5 is Earwig and the Witch. What a piece of shit. Number 4 is a movie that outside of my number 1, I was convinced was going to be the number 2 worst film of the year. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's a remake that's unnecessary, and it has the same DP as one of the best 90s reboots of this year, Candyman. Horrifyingly enough. Also has, I forgot to mention in my review, that green screen glitch. My number 4 is a reprehensible, shitty little cash grab called Hes All That. What a bad movie. Addison Rae can't act. Tanner Buchanan, I've never seen Cobra Kai, so for all I know, he's alright. But the worst part is you wasted Rachel Lee Cook and Matthew Lillard. F this movie. Number 4 is He's All That. I hated this piece of shit. Speaking of reprehensible, number 3. Let's go through these. Number 3. And also a necessarily 90s movie remake. Yeah, number 3 was The Lump of Coal This Christmas. My number 3 movie is Home Sweet Home Alone. What a terrible, awful, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad Christmas movie. And what a terrible remake. That's what the original was missing. Take a misunderstood, likable child going against actual violent burglars and make it about sympathetic people wanting their property back who get tortured by a brat on wheels from hell. Yeah, that's a great... Merry Christmas. Thanks. That's for you, Disney. Fuck you, Disney. Number 2 is one of the worst made movies I've ever seen, but it's not number 1 simply on a moral basis. We mentioned True to the Game 3 earlier. Guess what? My number 2 is the one from the same producer, and it, honestly, True to the Game 3 at least was entertaining. Not the same I could say for number 2, which is a movie that no one saw except me and maybe, I think, 2 other people in Letterboxd. My number 2 movie is A Holiday Chance. A movie that I called my mom after and told her I was going to review it, and she said, "Why would you even bother? That sounds to me like it doesn't even count." I'm like, "Yes, it does count." And he goes, "Why?" "Because I spent 2 hours and $10 of my life." This movie is everything wrong with... It makes Tyler Perry's entire filmography as a filmmaker... He's quite a fine actor, but it makes his whole filmography as a filmmaker look like the filmography of Ryan Coogler when it comes to, and John Singleton combined, when it comes to African American directors. Jamal Hill is a hack. This movie is terrible. And I am pretty sure that I inadvertently contributed to a money laundering scheme. I have actually gotten reports from people. This is the same with the crew who did True to the Game 3, Manny Halley direction, who claim that they had a bigger budget than was listed, and that they basically pocketed the money that was supposed to go to paying off the sets and shit. So yeah, this movie's terrible. Holiday Chance, a movie about nothing with horrible people involved. Number 2 is A Holiday Chance. What a bad movie. Alright. Number 1. The very worst. The worst of the worst. What's my number 1? Well, you remember back in April, I made a bet. Around Easter weekend, actually, weirdly enough. I said, if there is a worse movie that I see than this one, I would quit directing, and thank God... Not directing, I quit reviewing, and thank God I didn't have to... I lost that bet, because number 1 was always going to be Sweetheart. Holiday Chance was bad. All these movies offended my intelligence, but this movie was generally offensive. And that is this rotten to the core little film that weirdly enough is a PG-rated Christian movie. My number 1 is The Girl Who Believes in Miracles. How could it be anything else? The Girl Who Believes in Magical Finwit Rock-Looking Jesus Orb. This movie's racist. It's homophobic. Well, actually, it's not homophobic, but it's racist. You know what? I'll just say it's homophobic because I'm sure the filmmakers are. It's poorly put together. Thank God they didn't have the gall to say that it's based on a true story. It is tragedy porn of the highest order. It doesn't earn anything. Sorry about that. Number 1 again. It doesn't earn anything. It's terrible. Just... God, it's bad. Alright. That's it. There we go. The worst movies of the year. It's done. We're done. We'll be back very soon, and we'll do the best of the year very soon as well. That'll all be next time, and until next time, I'm Grant, the movie and TV guy. I see it all. I'm happy to share with you. I love you all. I appreciate you all. but I don't love these movies. I've been Class Mr. Love You 3000. Be kind to one another. Thank you all. Take care. See you soon. Find me elsewhere. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And see you soon. Bye.